All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you. Welcome to an unofficial, totally tongue-in-cheek, slightly zany history of campus culture here at UMBC. I'd complain about the title, but I wrote it. But from that, you can understand how this is going to go this evening. My name is Derek Musgrove. I'm a member of the class of 1997, an associate professor of history, and your moderator for this evening. In the next hour, I will lead you on a guided tour of UMBC's campus culture over the past 50 years. Now, some of you may be asking yourselves, I want to get this out of the way early on. Why are we doing a history of campus culture here at UMBC? UMBC has no campus culture. This thing is going to be over really quickly. And all of us on the panel will concede that UMBC does not have rich and storied traditions. We have no centuries-old eating clubs and secret societies, no ivy-covered walls neath which students hold annual recitations of Shakespeare. Our much ballyhooed tailgating parties are about as non-existent as our football team. But traditions are not culture. And free of the strictures of tradition, UMBC students, faculty, and administrators have exercised creativity, intelligence, and often a good deal of reckless abandon in their efforts to fashion a campus culture here out of whole cloth. The story of their efforts is inspiring, it's heartbreaking, and to our benefit, it is downright entertaining. And so we're going to talk about it tonight. Here to walk us through the three big moments in the campus's cultural development are Steve Fetter. Steve is a graduate from UMBC in 1972 with a degree in American Studies. He is a veteran trial lawyer and partner at Fetter and Janofsky, LLC. And Steve will tell us about UMBC's counterculture days in the 1960s and 70s. If you all could please welcome Steve Fetter. Next, we have Sherry Elliker, a 1983 graduate with a degree in interdisciplinary studies, aka Option 2. We were terribly clever about the names back in the day. She's an accomplished radio personality, actress, and comedian who currently serves as the executive director of communications for the Maryland Department of Public Safety. Sherry will give us the details of student efforts to create a traditional campus culture here in the 1980s. If you could all welcome Sherry Elliker. Last but not least, we have Oliver Myers. Oliver earned his BA, MA, and PhD from UMBC in 1994, 96, and 2007, respectively. He currently serves as Associate Professor of Mechanical Engineering at Clemson University. And he will tell us about the still ongoing effort to create a nerd culture here on campus. Oliver Myers. Now, to set the mood for our conversation, we have some videos that illustrate the campus as it was during the time periods in question. And so I am going to leave all of the touching of things up here to far more capable hands and sit down here with the panel. But I'll introduce our first video and then we'll get into the conversation. So the countercultural moment at UMBC. This video, which will depict that moment, covers the late 1960s, early 1970s, when a significant contingent of UMBC students and faculty embraced the countercultural ethos and challenged mainstream pretensions in institutions. A job made all the easier because, of course, UMBC did not have mainstream pretensions in institutions. It didn't exist before that time. And so we'll begin the video now, and then we'll get into a discussion with Steve.
All around, just shake. That's the way you do it now.
All right, so let's have Steve Fetter give us some context for some of um, those pictures. So Steve, you get here to campus in 1969. What was the campus culture like? What did you find?
Well, there was no one campus culture. There was no campus culture, but there were, I don't know, groups of people who came together around different things. I was political. There were hippies. There were artists. There were lacrosse jocks. The twain didn't meet very much, but the hippies and the lefties kind of got together, and we had a pretty good time.
So let's talk about your group, the New Lefties, the hippies and the political folks. How did you all attempt to, I mean, I'm curious how you all attempted to shape the larger campus's culture. And so if you could talk specifically, we saw a picture of Homer Shep up here. If you could tell us what Homer Eats Pie refers to.
Well, we had a fair amount of fun in those days, even though we were pretty serious. It was the height of the Vietnam War. There were a number of professors. One of them is here, Ed Orser, who I will love until I die. But there were a number of young professors here. When UMBC started, I think it decided that it was going to go out and get one that I remember, George Shepper, was young Princeton graduate. I think he needed to finish something to get his PhD from Princeton. He taught English. And he and several other folks.
Put the mic up.
Oh, I'm sorry. And he and several other folks who were teaching, several in the English department, were, we thought, terminated by Dr. Shamp because of their left leanings. Now, I don't know whether we were right or not in hindsight, but we love these guys. There was a room kind of like this, more like a theater, one day, Steve Taylor, one of my friends, said, "Hey, I got an idea. I'm working in the back of the thing. We're going to shut the lights off, and we're going to take pies and shove them in Homer Shamp's face because we're angry at him." And that's exactly what we did. The lights went out. The pie went in his face. We disappeared before the lights went on. The lights went on. T-shirts appeared all over campus. Homer eats pie. P, the mathematical sign for pie. And he wasn't very happy, but we weren't very happy with him either. So, but those were the kind of antics that we were influenced by people like Jerry Rubin and Abby Huffman, some of whom, I don't think either of them spoke on campus, but one of the Chicago 8, who were the people arrested as a result of the Chicago riots, came and spoke on, I think it was Rennie Davis, came and spoke on campus. So, we kind of hung with those people in terms of our spirits. We were kind of junior league, or as the president, I think, said, the JV team of radicals, but we did our best.
Now, this was not a one-off. I mean, you all created other catchphrases for the university. For instance, if elected, we will not serve.
Yeah, well, there's a student government, and there wasn't much to govern because there weren't many students. I think the campus was about 1,200 or 1,500 students. Student government was kind of useless, with the single exception that they brought some really good people on campus. And I noticed that the introduction to the slideshow or the movie was Otis Redding, who was on campus for a dance. So we thought, gee, student government's really a waste of time, so maybe we'll run a slate. And we ran a slate under a slogan of, if elected, we will not serve. But we did stay on, at least one of us, namely me, stayed on to run the concerts, because I cared about music. So we ran, there was a bit of an anarchy situation going on. Nobody did serve until finally they elected another student council, and off we went. So that was our life.
Nice.
One other sort of amusing anecdote is, as I said, we were pretty JV, and in '69 and '70, there were riots on Route 1 in College Park. And one day we were having a teach-in about the war, and we're all, pretty peaceful, lying on the grass in front of the student center, whatever you called it at the time. And all of a sudden, the National Guard comes in. Well, there was nothing going on, absolutely nothing going on, but a bunch of people sitting on the lawn, smoking a little pot, listening to a few speeches, And the National Guard drives up. Turns out they saw the sign on the Beltway that said University of Maryland and made a wrong turn and showed up on campus. So that was a big event for us.
It might have been the National Guard that was the JV team that time.
Well, it was kind of both.
Well, let me ask you about this, because, you know, UMBC had these wonderfully inventive names for our buildings and our majors back when we started out. So Sherry had option 2 was her major. If you stayed in the dorms, you stayed in dorm 1 or dorm 2. You went to class in academic 1. One semester, though, you decided to stay in dorm 3. So can you tell us about where you lived one of the spring semesters here on campus?
Well, if anybody came in from Interstate 95, you'll see a silo. And it has a big painted UMBC is wonderful. Well, that was kind of in the woods. And there were a bunch of us. Steve Taylor, I keep using his name in vain, but Steve was kind of the Jerry Rubin of the bunch. He was a very funny guy. And he decided to start camping out in the silo. And then 2 or 3 others started to do it, and then I, being a great follower, decided to do it. But I had a girlfriend who lived in Residence Hall 1, and so I could get my showers when I needed them. But for most of the spring semester that year, I lived in the silo or next to the silo in a tent with my showers when I needed them. They got wind of that, and they kind of like locked it up, and that didn't really work because we kept going back, or we would go back in the woods behind there, and we planted some herbs and things back there just to keep things going. But, you know, it was fun.
You know, I see some administrators here, so I do have to say this in order to keep my job, which is nothing that is mentioned in this panel do we endorse for current students. Do we have that on tape? We have that on tape? We're good. We're good.
And my 16-year-old son is sitting in front of me, and I really didn't do that. It's the comedy routine.
So just to wrap up, because we've essentially talked about everything but academics. Can you tell us about academic life here on UMBC's campus during the period that you were here, specifically the American Studies Department?
Well, the American Studies Department, as I mentioned, Ed is here. The American Studies Department was terrific. We had Ed Orser and Jim Arnquist were the 2 professors that I remember, and the 2 that I took. Ed was, from my perspective at that time, kind of like a button down, right down the middle, kind of not crazy enough, but, he actually made me work, which I did, and I learned a hell of a lot from him. I ended up writing my thesis for him. Jim Arnquist lived in Dickeyville and would have us over, and he would study Sanskrit, and there would be herbal concoctions going on the campus. He passed away in Egypt some time ago, so I'm not getting anybody in trouble, and the statute of limitations has run. But and I don't want to give you the idea that we weren't students. We were, but there wasn't much to do on campus other than raise a little hell and have a little fun and go to class. So, and I know you wanted me to mention this, but you didn't trigger me right because I forgot.
I do want you to mention the title of this conference.
So there was a place called the Donaldson Brown Center up on the Susquehanna River, and Ed Orser and Jim Arnquist put together a seminar, and lots of people came. It was a weekend kind of thing called "If American Studies is the Answer, What's the Question?" And I'm still answering that question without anyway. No, if there was such thing as, what did you major in again? Interdisciplinary?
Option 2.
If we had option 2, that would probably have been my major.
Well, if we could all thank Steve for So you can see it was a pretty good time here in the 60s and 70s. Let's move on now to the 80s, and I'm going to introduce the film. In the 1980s, students and faculty interested in creating a more traditional campus culture became dominant in campus affairs. They created a robust fraternity and sorority life, organized Quadmania, our version of homecoming, and generally moved away from the anti-establishment politics of the university's first years. No offense to you, Steve. And so if we could cue the next video, we'll watch that now.
Freakazoids, robots, please report to the dance floor. Freakazoid. Z-O-I-D-S. Z-O-I-D-S. Robot baby.
I'll be a freakazoid. Come on and wind me up. Kick up the heels, baby, relax your mind. Leave all your worries to me. 'Cause I am programmed to take care of you and all of your physical needs. You see, I'll be a freakazoid. Come on and wind me up. Ooh, tears, baby.
Shake your body like you just don't care. I said, be a freakazoid if you dare. Z-O-I-D-S. Z-O-I-D-S. Robot baby.
It's only 2 years ago, the man with the suit and the face who knew that he was there on the case. Now he's in love with you, he's in love with you. My love is like a high prison wall, and you could leave me standing so tall. Gold, always believe in your soul. You've got the power to know you're indestructible. Always believe in, 'cause you are gold. I'm glad that you're bound to return. Something I could have learned. You're indestructible. Always believe in. Love is like a high prison wall, and you can leave me standing so tall. Gold, I'm glad that you're bound to return. Something.
All right, and here to tell us about those images is Sherry Elliker. So Sherry, I want to start with the story that you told me about why you came to UMBC, because we sort of lampoon the fact that UMBC has this scattered, if in fact it even exists, campus culture, but that was appealing to you. So if you could.
Yeah, it actually was. You know, in high school, it's a little bit like prison, where you either have to join a gang or get protection from a gang. So there was a group of girls that I had to join with in order to survive. They were the meanest, most horrible people in the world, and they were all going to College Park. So I had to figure out how I could escape the clutches of these girls. Otherwise, I would have been a bridesmaid 1,000 times, somebody's godmother, all these things I didn't want to do. So it just so happened that I was also working in the school as a filmmaker, and I use that term very loosely. Show of hands, does anybody know what Super 8 film is? Oh, unbelievable. Anyway, you all must have gone to UMBC. So it's a long story how I got there. So my job in the morning is I would go in there, and I'd won some prizes in middle school, and so I started doing this for the high school. And I ended up winning the State Film Festival in animation. And it was all stop action. Does everybody know what that is? Yeah, so the stop action film. It was an epic drama that you've probably all seen. It involved a bunch of bananas. And the bananas, through my expertise, were able to slowly strip tease, and they threw off their skins and everything. It would have never been allowed nowadays, but it won the state competition. And the guy that was one of the judges actually said, "Why don't you come to UMBC? Because if you want to study film, you'll get a lot more, help and all of that stuff." And I thought, there is my out. And I came here and never looked back.
So when you got here,
Yeah.
because that's sort of what got you here. When you got here, what did you find? I mean, what was the social life what was the campus culture? What was the social life that you were introduced to when you got on campus?
Did you watch the film? That was exciting stuff, okay?
And you must, by the way, tell particularly the students who are here now about the rat.
Yeah, the Rathskeller was up on this hill, and I'd like you all to repeat after me, okay? Remember, the drinking age was 18.
Was 18.
That will come into play in a minute. So, yeah, the Rat was a place, and it served beer, and, you know, you'd be rolling down the hill afterwards and everything. They even served beer in also a very cleverly named place, the Commuter Cafe.
Yes.
They don't still have that, do they? Oh, thank God. Okay, so Commuter Cafe served beer and all of that stuff, but really, I don't know if Arbutus has become like a rockin' college town. Somehow I doubt it, but there really wasn't anything to do. I mean, we were just kind of stuck, and we had to make our own fun, and I was in dorm 1. And we ended up doing things like there was one night where either we got, somebody had a case of baby powder or toilet paper. It was toilet paper and baby powder. And we ended up throwing it on each other, and we had this massive, massive fight with all this stuff. So we're all there. We're covered in toilet paper. We're covered in baby powder. And there was this RD. Are they still RDs? Resident directors? Okay. Named Yvette, who was the scariest person I've ever met. And she came busting through the door, and everybody else was more coordinated than me, so they all scattered, and I was the only one like covered in baby powder and all that. And she said, "You have 30 minutes." And I thought, for what? You know, are you going to come back and kill me? You know, what happens in 30 minutes? Will I be arraigned somewhere? You know, I didn't know what it was. So I had to get everybody together, and nobody helped me clean up. But remember, yeah, that explains it. So yeah, so that was part of what we did.
There's nothing I can add. Okay, tell us if you could about your major, which we have referenced before, which was about as inventive a name as your dorm.
Exactly, yeah. So I was a film major for 2 years, and I realized early on that because my filmmaking skills were limited to those of, you know, bananas peeling and things like that, that the other people took it not way too seriously, appropriately seriously, and I didn't. I made one movie about this guy I had a crush on playing tennis, and I made another one, you know, and it was awful. So I had to bail on that. I thought, I'm never going to do it. I'm never going to do this. So I thought, what's the closest thing to a film major? So I came up with communications. Well, back then there was no communications program. So option 1 was that you actually got an education, and option 2 we used to tease was you just got a diploma. So I picked option 2, and we would go, and you had to kind of sort of find classes that fit your major. And so you would end up just going to film classes, or maybe there'd be a TV class or something like that, and that made up for the interdisciplinary studies program.
And it led you to a very specific place on campus,
Yes.
which of course helped to launch your subsequent career. And so
Yeah.
can you talk about where it led you and what you tried to do once you got there?
Yeah, I became involved in the campus radio station, and so I was the assistant manager for a while, and then when the manager graduated, I ended up becoming the manager. And so I was so bummed out because, you know, nothing at UMBC felt normal. It all was kind of a little bit weird, and so I wanted it to be like other campuses and things like that. And being terribly unsophisticated, as I still am, I hated jazz music, and the campus was playing jazz at a college. Come on, I hated that, right? I know, and everybody likes jazz. Okay, whatever. So I hated it, and I said, we got to change this. Let's do something. It's the 80s, man. We got to have some hair bands and things like that. So overnight, I changed it from jazz to this popular, like, hot, you know, top 20 type thing. And half the people liked it, half the people didn't like it because they wanted to hear Miles Davis all day. But what came out of that was, and I still judge them for that, what came out of it was that we started to have concerts, and we started to have things that were bigger events. And one of them was we had a Molly Hatchet concert. Anyone? Anyone? Okay. So we had a Molly Hatchet concert. We had Quadmania. Does that still go on? Okay, so Quadmania was a lot of bands and stuff like that. It was very cool. And then my personal best was I was a big Peter Frampton fan. Anyone? Anyone? Thank you. And Peter Frampton, when I was in high school, I had a picture of Peter Frampton in my bedroom, and he had no shirt on. Does anybody remember that picture? Yeah, totally. And my father would come into my room and go, "That guy's got the mange," because he was like had no shirt on, and he was just gross and everything. So we got Peter Frampton to come and do an acoustic thing, and then the best part was they had to sign shirts and stuff, and he used my back to do it. I could have gone. That was it. I was done. So yeah. So it ended up working out okay.
Well, on Peter Frampton, I will let you drop the mic and walk away.
Yeah.
Can we thank Sherry for sharing that? And now let me introduce to all of you our video on the 90s. By the mid-1990s, efforts to brand UMBC as a first-rate academic institution through the creation of the Meyerhoff Program and the Honors College, among other initiatives, bore fruit. Visitors entering the dorms late on a Friday night might find students gathered into study groups as much as partying. Believe it. News reports of UMBC sports in local papers more likely covered the chess team than the lacrosse team. And by late decade, a nerd culture had spread across campus. And so we're going to cue up that movie here, and then Oliver Myers will speak to that in just a moment.
Explain once more, okay? Check it out. It don't take a genius to know I care for you. Love, cherish, respect, can always be there for you. Why not? It's quite simple. A love affair like this, I can truly get my heart into you. Give it to you just like. Come over here and do it like. Turn around and I do a little something like. Two times.
Take you by the hand and talk to you just for a while. And I'll kiss your cheek and say sweet things
Just to see you smile.
'Cause it's my brightest of my day and turns my gray skies blue. The reason that I'm happy 'cause of you.
You know, I realize from these videos that Freeman doesn't age, he just changes his facial hair. Okay, Oliver Myers. So You come here to campus in 1988 for interview weekend. Tell us what you expected and then how that matched up with what you actually encountered.
Well, first, when I heard Freeman Hrabowski, I'm thinking of a Eastern European gentleman. You know, Mike Krzyzewski, Freeman Hrabowski. Okay, this is somebody that's going to be working on advancing their career, but they want to bring in African Americans for STEM disciplines, so he's trying to advance his career. And then I arrive on campus. And this gentleman greets me at the door. Hi, Oliver. How do you know me? And of course, we didn't have the advantages of internet and things of that nature, so I couldn't exactly look up who Freeman Hrabowski was. So in my mind, I'm thinking of a very Caucasian gentleman, and all of a sudden, here's this African American with the mustache at that time, and he's quoting Langston Hughes, Countee Cullen, Zora Neale Hurston, Maya Angelou. I'm saying, wait a second, this is not Freeman, can't be Freeman Hrabowski. But to my surprise, it was Freeman Hrabowski. And of course, later on, we did learn the lineage of his name from the slave culture in Alabama.
So tell us what you thought about it, because you meet this guy who you had a little cognitive dissonance when you saw him. But how did what was your impression, and the other Meyerhoffs? Because I think you spoke for many of the people that were in the first class.
Sure, most of us were really actually nervous about being on campus because we're interviewing for the Meyerhoff Scholarship. And UMBC historically has been known as the commuter campus. One of the cultures that we heard about UMBC was you made a bad choice or you must be crazy. So we were sitting here thinking, okay, this might be another offset of the Banneker Scholarship, which was prevalent at College Park. And then we meet Dr. Hrabowski, who is this powerful, inspirational character that is propelling us to succeed and says, thou shalt be successful. Okay, sounds as if he's the voice of God coming down to talk to us as we're on the mountaintop and lightning strikes, and he says, you will achieve your PhD, and you will graduate in 4 or 5 years. Okay, thank you, I want to, but what about the money?
So the Meyerhoff program itself, I mean, there are scholarships that target African Americans at other U of M campuses and other campuses around the country. You mentioned the Banneker over at College Park. But the Meyerhoff was different. And it was geared towards African American men specifically. And in the one set of majors where their numbers were absolutely abysmal, that's math sciences, right? So tell us about what it was like going into this experimental program, number one, and then specifically how you were received on campus, right? Because you are coming to a campus in Catonsville, right? And it's a campus that had not tried anything like this in its very young history up to that time. So if you could talk about those two things.
Sure, most of us felt as if we were guinea pigs. We're coming into this program completely new, completely experimental. And as we walked on campus during our summer bridge program, there were several comments to the effect of, oh, that's the new basketball team. Now, I'm 5'7". I think the tallest person in our cohort was maybe 6'3". And so we're sitting, no, we're not the basketball team. And I think there was an urban legend that we were the beginning of the actual football team, which would have really been hilarious. And we would have really have been trounced by everybody in the state. So we were actually very much academically oriented, and I think 80% of us wore glasses. I think most of us have now either gotten LASIK or contacts, so we don't look quite as nerdy. But most of us wore glasses, and when we would go to laboratories or campus laboratories or national laboratories or different companies, people were saying, oh, okay, a bunch of African American men. They're all men, first of all. And they said, okay, well, let's just placate them and talk about, oh, this is the chemistry lab, and this is how you mix chemicals together, and you just make sure it doesn't go boom. And after a while, we started asking questions, and you could see the dynamics of people's expressions change immediately because we were asking intelligent, insightful questions about what was going on in the chemistry lab. No, we weren't asking about putting nitros into an engine to make the little Yugo at the time go faster and make it more fuel efficient. But we were asking serious questions about developing cures to cancer. We were asking serious questions about how we use composite materials in the mechanical engineering lab. We were asking questions to national laboratories about rocket development and robotics. So the initial reception was that, okay, these are a bunch of athletes, African Americans, but after a couple of hours spent with us, these are very intelligent young men.
Well, you mentioned the football team, and in the spirit of Freeman, I just want to point out, as he often does, that we remain undefeated. So thank you for not hitting the field, because that might not have. You guys are really smart, but you're not, you know. Okay, so you mentioned you're meeting Freeman, and of course Freeman is this overpowering personality, and I know a lot of Meyerhoffs, particularly the early Meyerhoffs, speak about this paralyzing fear that they had of letting him down.
Yes.
And so I'd love it if you could talk, because that's not funny, so we're not going to talk about that. But I'd love it if you can talk about the study culture that you all bring to campus, sort of as a product of that fear. And this part actually is funny, so we're going to go with that.
Yes, we had a study culture such that even during our summer bridge programs and even during picnics, we had our backpacks and we were studying. We had a hamburger in one hand and a pencil in the other, actually doing math problems on a picnic table, doing chemistry and physics problems on a picnic table. And we would get mad with each other when a drop of ketchup or mustard would fall on the paper, because we had been working on this problem that traditionally, by a professor standards, only takes 2 lines, but it took us 5 sheets of paper. And then we had to go back and figure out what we had done. And then, of course, on Friday nights, which was party night, we'd go up to the Rat. Well, the drinking age had been moved to 21 by that time. So we had to be very careful about our behavior. But Friday nights, it was not uncommon to see us studying in the lobby. By this time, we had dorms that were named Chesapeake, Susquehanna, and Patapsco. So it was not uncommon to see us studying in the lobby. Thursday night, everybody was watching The Cosby Show in a different world. And then that was our study break, and then we go right back to studying. Friday night, it was studying. Saturday night, it might be a Mike Tyson fight or Yo MTV Raps or something. We were back to studying. Sunday, we would study between plays for Sunday football. Halftime, we were studying. Up until the last football game on Sunday, we were studying, and then it was back to work on Monday.
A lot more boring than the 60s and 70s and 80s.
We were nerds. What can you say? I mean, you saw the pictures of our glasses. They were about this big on our faces.
And I should just say, and I should actually apologize to you for this. Now, I remember walking into Susquehanna on Friday nights and going past the common rooms and seeing you and some of the other Meyerhoffs in there and saying, nerds.
Nerds get paid.
And then, of course, not having grades that were as good as yours. So shame on me. So the Meyerhoffs become this big marketing tool for UMBC. I mean, one of the reasons that we are able to generate a nerd culture, and one of the reasons that people off campus come to know us as a nerd university, quite frankly, is because of the Meyerhoffs, and specifically President Hrabowski going out, grabbing a couple of Meyerhoffs, sometimes telling you ahead of time, sometimes not, and having you stand in front of God knows who, Attorney General Reno, the Washington Post, and saying, introduce yourself and tell us what you're doing with your life. And you had to go. And so if you could tell us about some of those experiences, particularly the special way in which Freeman would introduce you.
Wow. Yes, it was not uncommon for us to be introduced to heads of state and say, oh, get up and introduce yourself, say your name, where you're from, what high school, and what accomplishment, and it better not be an athletic accomplishment. It better be something academic. And when I was a freshman, I was not as vocal as I am now. I was not really that outgoing, if you can believe that. But I would always introduce myself. I wouldn't say my hometown. I would always say, my name is Oliver Myers, and I'm from the country. Now, I grew up in a town called Brandywine, Maryland, which is it's in the country. Thank you. Somebody actually recognizes where Brandywine is, but where I grew up around a lot of tobacco farmers. So that was a rural culture in my mind. And so Dr. Hrabowski would use that, and he would always make the joke. Now, I'm a professor at Mississippi State and now currently at Clemson, and Dr. Rabowski has come down and visited me, and he would get up in front of the entire university and say, yes, here's Oliver Myers, and when he was a student at UMBC, he would always introduce himself from the country. I said, Dr. Rabowski, it's been over 20 years. You actually still remember this? And he uses that as a way to really just break the ice and just really introduce the Meyerhoff program and some of his students. He has some form of connection with just about all of us that relates to us on an individual level.
Thank you, thank you. And if we could thank Oliver for sharing with us. And if we have a round of applause for our entire panel, by the way. So I do not believe my eyes, but we are on time, which means that we have time for a couple of audience questions. So if you have any questions for the panelists, please come on up and grab the microphone so we could get your voice on the recording. Or please, if you'd like to testify about your experience with UMBC campus culture, please tell us what the place was like when you got here and how you and your fellow students made an effort to change it. Please.
Thank you. My name is Beth Wells. I'm class of 74. So I lived in dorm 1. And I just want to tell you all one thing about that countercultural culture was the nude run. Do you remember it? So picture this happening today, right? Bunch of guys, I don't know, 10, 20 guys who lived in the residence halls. It was 1 and 2 at the time, I think. Wrapped in towels only, and maybe tennis shoes, would line up on the deck of dorm 1, and at the given signal would run what there was of the loop, having dropped the towels at the bottom of the stairs. And the campus police would give way, making sure that none of them got hit. The really big scandal was the year that a woman decided she was going on the nude run too. So that was the kind of crazy stuff in the counterculture time.
Oh, God bless you. Thank you. Oh, no, we're recording it, if you could. So folks who pass this down, please.
My name's Hilton Silver. I graduated in 1980. I remember walking into the lecture hall at the, used to be the administration building, the tower there, and they had lecture halls in the bottom, and it was April Fool's. And I see people running out as I'm coming in, and the campus newspaper was sitting there, and I picked up the campus newspaper, and it said administration building, structural faults found in administration building, something about it may collapse at any time. And people were like running out of the building, and it was all prank, of course. And I remember at the commuter cafe they used to have dances, and with the price of admission you got 12 beers. So I'm with my brother who went here. I had gone to Towson and got a degree, and then I came here to get another degree. But we're in line, and the line was really long, so we got all beers at the same time. And so I drank 12 beers. And I'm leaning on a wall, and there was only one men's bathroom in the women's gym, because it was the women's gym with the commuter cafe downstairs. And it was rather crowded because everybody was drinking a lot of beer. And it took me about close to an hour wedging along the wall to get to the bathroom around the corner. And my brother went back, got 12 more. I guess he could handle more than I could. I couldn't stand.
I feel cheated. Is there anyone else or members of the panel who this is triggering memories for them? Please.
Thank you. My name is Terry Nolan, and I was the SGA president here in 1981 and 82, and Sherry was here, and we produced Peter Frampton and Molly Hatchet, and also Debbie Does Dallas. We, unlike College Park, who punked out on their X-rated movie, we showed ours. And Sherry did a show on the radio when she was doing that about the outrage of Debbie Does Dallas. And I saw her and I said, Sherry, you went to Debbie Does Dallas. And she did. But we didn't put that on the radio because I was a nice guy. And, but we redesigned that diploma from this little flappy thing that it used to be to that kind of big thing that we get now. We started Quadmania. The way I did this was I'd never been to the SGA in my life. I'm a transfer student from Indiana University, and I left the Army in December, and I came here in January. When I was in Germany, MP unit, I came to a dorm here. It wasn't really a culture shock for me. Anyway, a couple years later, I got elected SGA president. I'd never been in the SGA office except to pick up an application and run for president. And so I had no idea what this place is all about. And I ran an ad in the Retriever and said, here are the positions, treasurer and all the people that we hire. And we hire them, people I never met. And so I got a pop concert guy named John Pinder, who's deceased now, but he ran great concerts. And I got a women's affairs person who was a graduate student in women's issues. And I just hired these people that were terrific, and they did it. And all I did was show up and say thank you, you know.
Excellent.
Management by objectives. But we made some lasting changes here, and everybody needs to. People who can make changes in this world need to get off their butts and do so. And that's what this place teaches. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Much appreciated.
My name is Tom Beck. I'm chief curator of the library, and I'm sorry? Oh, I'm trying to, try it like this? Okay. My name is Tom Beck. I'm chief curator in the library. I'll use two of the, no, I'll use this one. What I'm hearing here today is exactly the kind of history we wanted to do in the library gallery, but we'd probably get sued. But I invite you all to come to the library gallery where we have a selection of things from the university archives. Pictures, we tried to do as much of a cross-section as we could of different kinds of events, different kinds of groups on campus. And there's a 50th anniversary publication of a lot of these pictures. And as I look across this room, I see people that look kind of like some of the people in the pictures in the library. We left Professor Orzer out somehow. I don't know how that happened. But there are a lot, we didn't have a lot of pictures of officials so much as we had events and things. And thank you, Terry, for mentioning John Pinder. What a great guy he was. A guy who came from a troubled background and just, he made this campus come alive with his expertise in getting really fine concerts to campus. One of them was Otis Redding. And we have a picture of the Otis Redding performing here, as well as, what's his name, Dietrich. Bob Dietrich had the original ticket. So we have that on display in the gallery too. So please come over and take a look at the 50th anniversary exhibition.
Thank you. Thank you. And we have time for one more.
Toyin Fadaran. I graduated a couple years ago. I'm a history major. I'm interested in knowing, this for the panel, like UMBC is so close to Baltimore City. I work in Baltimore City. What was it like going to university here? Any major events that happened? I know like Kurt Schmoke was mayor for a bunch of years, probably captured when you guys were here, or the Catonsville Nine. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. What was it like being next to a major city, and how did that influence your college experience?
Thank you.
So that's interesting that you asked that question. First of all, Catonsville 9 happened while we were here on campus. And we marched from, a good number of us marched up, I've forgotten the name, Hilltop, past the high school, past the community college, up to Frederick, and demonstrated there. I believe Ed will tell you that in 1969, when the Orioles won the World Series, he led a contingent of us to the block to celebrate. So we weren't all serious. What year was it? 70, Ed? It's 70. I was on campus for a long. It took me 6 years to get through college, so And the other thing that I would mention, I know that's the area of Derek's research, is very serious. The riots in 1968, the assassinations of Black Panther members in Oakland and Chicago, led a number of us and a number of Hopkins students to camp out in front of the Black Panther headquarters on Gay Street, Gay or Asquith, I can't, to prevent that from happening. I think we're crazy, but we did that, and we were very involved in the city. And Ed, I keep mentioning Ed. Ed's research was about West Baltimore, and West Baltimore was undergoing incredible changes. When I wasn't living in the silo, I lived in Section 8 housing right next to Dickey Hill Elementary School. And a number of us did that. So I was joking around a lot about smoking weed and those kinds of things, but we were pretty serious about being involved in the community. And a lot of it was the leadership from Ed and other professors, Paul Lauder, a number of other professors on campus, Fred Pincus. They were heady times.
We did nothing. The Inner Harbor opened the years that I guess it was in 80 or 81 or something. But oddly enough, Baltimore City felt completely detached from the university. We never really went into the city. We would go every once in a while because Phillips would have like a special on crab claws. And so I think that is sort of one of the, if you will, problems with the 80s, is we didn't stand for anything. We didn't. It was a time of great peace and prosperity in the country for the most part, and so we didn't have anything like that. We didn't have anything to fight for. We didn't have that, and so without a cause, what we just sort of, drank 12 beers at mixers and things like that. But no, Baltimore City never really factored into anything, to be honest with you. I live there now, and I can remember people saying, well, you must know your way around because you went to UMBC. And I said, I don't even remember ever going into this except for the crab claws. But that was it. So sorry, but we were just losers.
Well, personally, I did not get out too much being a nerd. And also, believe it or not, I actually ran track here when I was a student. So I was a kind of the nerd athlete. Well, now the term is scholar athlete? I don't know. But as Baltimore City, you now had the Inner Harbor, you had the aquarium, you had downtown. So you could actually go down there. Several of my classmates went to Fells Point. Again, they were just over 18, as she said. But you also had the Meyerhoff Symphony Hall, so things had evolved to the point where we had several options. And of course, now we have our cross-county rivals go up to Towson and beat them on football. Yeah, we beat them in football. And we would always beat them in basketball, and then we'd go down to College Park or Bowie and Morgan. You had all of these other outlets to entertain ourselves when we weren't studying or when we were supposed to be studying.
Thank you. So I would like, just before we wrap up, to take a little bit of privilege of a moderator and tell you the reason that I tried to dream this panel up with Richard Byrne not too long ago. I had initially not planned on coming to UMBC, and Freeman being Freeman sort of cornered my mom and cornered me and got me to come here. And I was on the fence, and at the time, for those of you who know house music, Frank Ski used to do parties in the UC ballroom. He's now he's famous for his single "Doo Doo Brown," which is actually a really great song. But he's now down in Atlanta on the radio. He used to do parties in the UC ballroom, and I'm agonizing about whether or not I should come to UMBC. I'm a senior in high school, and I say, okay, I'll run up to UMBC, check out this party, and see if it's really got a good campus culture. I go into the ballroom, and it is packed to the walls. There are fraternity and sorority party lines that appear to stretch for like 100 people. I mean, it was astonishing. And I thought, wow, this looks like an HBCU. Like, I can do this. Like, this is going to be fun. And I didn't know that that was the last year that large numbers of students from Coppin were living on campus. And so when I got to campus the next year, it was nothing like that. But we made it work nonetheless. So let me just end with a couple of thank yous. First off, let me thank Lindsay Loper of the UMBC Archives, Richard Byrne, editor of UMBC Magazine, and Stephen Karolenko of the Visual Arts Department for creating the marvelous videos that we had today. Also, let me thank Lisa Action and the 50th Engagement team for their support. Last but not least, thanks to all of our panelists for sharing their stories, and to all of you for creating the campus culture that we cherish here at UMBC today. So thank you all for coming. Good night.